Hey guys, this week I'm going to tell you guys a story, and we're going to do it that way. So, we're talking about the fruits of the Spirit. So I just want you to listen carefully to what this man did, and maybe even didn't do. There was a man who was rich and decided to buy a home. This man was wealthy, and he could go anywhere that he wanted to. He could have lived in New York City, LA, or maybe even the Caribbean. But he decided to go to Texas. That is where he was born and raised, and he wanted to go back and return. So he scoured the entire state with a real estate agent. They visited beautiful properties with mansions and pools and farms and gardens, but the man thought they looked too luxurious for himself. He wanted something more simple. So the agent took him to the last location, 3 hours in the middle of nowhere, and an hour past the nearest town. Finally, they arrived. They drove up to the property with the real estate agent, and they hopped out of the truck, and their cowboy boot met the dusty, dead-weed-ridden driveway. They approached the homestead, and it looked like it was probably renovated back in the 80s. The man said he didn't really care much about what the home looked like. He was looking for something else. So they hopped back into the truck to drive around the property. The agent was in shock of how bad the property's shape it was in. It was worse than even the photos that he had saw on the internet. So they began their exploration of the 100-acre property. And what once used to be a 100-acre thriving farm was now a disheveled wasteland that looked for nothing better than maybe riding motorcycles on. The man asked the agent to drive up to the top of a small hill that overlooked the entire property. The man then asked the agent, "I can't see where the river flows." The agent pointed in the direction where the river could be, and there was nothing but a small creek. The agent explained that there was an underwater reserve, and after seeing the creek, the man said, "I'll take it," to the surprise of the agent. He said, "Sir, with all due respect, this is the worst property that I've shown you. Why on earth would you live here?" The man said nothing, but he smiled. So the agent sold the land to the man, and they parted ways. The man began to sow seed in the bank of the creek. He planted grass and small trees. The first 2 years, nothing really came of it. 4 years later, nothing really. The creek began gradually to have a greater width and depth to it, from about 4 inches to maybe a foot deep. More grass was beginning to grow. After 10 years, there began to sprout small trees and flowers around the area, and another creek actually even began to emerge from the side of the hill. After 15 years, the agent that the man had been bought the land from returned because he had curious buyers for a piece of land near where that man had sold that first property. The interested buyer boasted that it was one of the most beautiful places in the entire area. The agent was sure this man was misunderstood with his prior experience of this area. So sure enough, he pulled up to the gate when he was in shock. The fields were covered in dandelions and grasses. The hills were now rolling green and trees everywhere. The man took himself on a tour in his truck and discovered more streams. Finally, he saw the man sitting up on top of the hill that he had sold the land to. The agent greeted the man and told him that he loved what he had done with the place. The man replied, "I've done nothing. The only thing I did was sow into a never-ending stream." Now, I just wanted to point out a couple of things in this story. The fruits of the Spirit are like this man. And I think that fruits are meant to be reproducing. Sometimes we only think fruit is for consumption, but fruit actually have seed in them. And the way that we see more fruit is that we plant seed. And I think my question to you is, are you sowing the fruit that you have been given by the Holy Spirit? And once you become a believer in Jesus, you get the fruit of the Spirit. You get to produce the fruit of the Spirit if you're abiding in Him, the never-ending stream. And so my question to you is, if you're not sowing seed, it might be because you're not in the never-ending stream, and that you have a consistent water source. And I want you to look at this thing with the man, because I think it's a beautiful analogy of Jesus. I think a lot of the time, Jesus probably in his ministry could have looked at different people that he was ministering to, and he could have easily made the assumption that he would just been throwing his seed into dead wasteland, which maybe he would have, but I don't think it hindered him from actually sowing as much seed as possible. And I think what it takes to sow that seed of a fruit of the Spirit is almost that belief in someone, the belief in that the Holy Spirit can do something with their life. I think there's a lot of times where we think that there's this not obligation, but there's this compelling in our heart when we walk down the street and we see someone, or we're walking through our schools and we see someone, and the Holy Spirit prompts us to be kind or encourage this person. And sometimes we go, I don't know if I should do that. Would that actually do something for them? I don't know. We'll see. And And I would just encourage you that Jesus probably, because of his belief in people, his love for people, he would always sow those fruits of the Spirit. Grace, kindness, peace, patience, gentleness, self-control. You have probably been having a bunch of opportunities to practice self-control in your home, and I know there's the Holy Spirit can prompt you to be patient with your family, but it takes moments of belief. You even with patience, you can think of it in the sense of, why would I sow patience if I'm not going to reap peace from, or patience from, somebody else? But that's not the way of Jesus. The way of Jesus is you're called to love people. People don't owe you a thing. And so just 3 things that I want you to take away again is, fruit are meant to reproduce, be sowing and reproducing. But to have fruit, you need to be planted in a stream, which is Jesus. And 3rd, you need to believe in people to sow seed, to sow the fruit of the Spirit, because the fruits of the Spirit, this is the point of the fruits of the Spirit, to build the kingdom. The fruit of the Spirit is to build the kingdom. It's not to make our lives better. It's not to make us feel good. It is to build the kingdom. It is to reach people. It is to co-labor with the Holy Spirit, work alongside Him to bring people to Himself, because we've been given that job biblically. And if you guys want, the fruits of the Spirit are listed out in Galatians 5. And I would encourage you to go through all those fruits of the Spirit and just think to yourself, what would happen if I sowed this? What would happen if I believed in someone and sowed kindness? What would happen if I believed in someone and sowed grace? What happened if I believed in someone, that the Holy Spirit could use this situation, this gift of the Spirit, that this prompting in my heart, because it's all the Holy Spirit. It's not me giving this conviction to love people or be kind to people, etc., etc. So I just encourage you guys to reflect on that this week, and study the fruits of the Spirit, and ask yourself, are they really in my life? And am I yielding to the Holy Spirit in these moments to build the kingdom? So yeah, love you guys. We'll see you later.